As women are often well aware, men can behave aggressively and violently when their masculinity is questioned. And I said that we'd take a look at the studies that back this idea of compensatory masculinity. And first up are a series of studies by Boson and Vandello that looked at this idea of precarious manhood. They took a group of men and split them in two. Some were tasked with braiding hair and the other group was tasked with braiding rope. They were then given the choice to either complete a puzzle or hit a punching bag. And what they found is that the gender-threatened men who braided hair were twice as likely to want to throw a punch. In another version of the study, they then tested for anxiety and found that the gender-threatened men who punched a bag had less anxiety than those that didn't, suggesting that this expression of aggression was actually a means of regulating their emotions and their anxiety. Another study looked at the connection between threatened masculinity, anger, and then ideological dominance over women. In the first experiment, they took a group of men and they gave them a personality test. They showed them what were supposed to be typical scores for men and women at their institution, and then revealed what their results were, showing that they either scored in the lowest 37th percentile, a very feminine score, or in the 87th percentile, a very masculine score. They were then asked to rate how comfortable they would be with those scores being made public, and asked to rate themselves against 10 different emotions, 4 of which were used to evaluate anger. And they were then asked to complete a social dominance orientation scale. What they found was a chain reaction. Men who were in the threatened masculinity condition were more likely to experience public discomfort, they were then more likely to experience anger, and then more likely to strongly adhere to dominant ideology over women. In a second experiment, men were told they were going to work with a partner and then assessed on their skills. Once the test was complete, it was revealed that their partner was to be a woman, and that woman had either outscored or underscored the men. They were then asked to pick an avatar for their partner, and the only difference in the avatars was the amount of skin being shown. And what they found was the same chain of events. Men in the threatened condition who were more likely to be uncomfortable with those scores being made public, were more likely to feel anger, and were more likely to go on to sexualize their partner. And the interesting thing here is how much anger seems to be a key. In both experiments, men who were uncomfortable but not angry were less likely to sexualize their partner or want to exert ideological dominance over women. And for men who were threatened but not uncomfortable, there's barely a correlation. And this is reinforced by a study that was done into adolescent boys, which found that boys that didn't feel pressured or stressed to conform to masculine gender roles had better health outcomes. The data paints a very clear picture. Men who are not pressured to conform to masculine gender roles are less aggressive, less violent, less toxic, and healthier, and overall safer to be around.